Russia's vision for a post-war Europe, or what Russia is hoping to get after the Ukraine invasion is over. Why is this map so weird looking? Who would lead with this as their presentation though, too? Talk about insane border gore as well. Their idea is to give these states to Romania. For some reason, really don't want to border Poland then. So this is suggesting they actually give a lot of Western Ukraine to Poland though. They must have seen some of these Article 5 Polish memes. I like how their ally Belarus is not getting anything out of this. You know, you're not gonna give them like just a little bit. I mean, they did after all let you move through their territory and continue the invasion in 2021. That's how they got to Kyiv so fast early on. Interesting that this plan allows Ukraine to still exist with Kyiv. It's just basically becoming a city-state though, essentially. I mean, there's a lot to discuss about this, but just the border gore alone, like, we just can't have this happen. This is so disgusting to look at. Currently, as of March 2024, this is where the war still remains. The front lines are changing ever so slightly, but they still have a long way to go if they want to make this Hoi 4 peace treaty come true. It's actually just kind of even hard to believe this is real. Here's where nuclear weapons are stored. It's an interesting combination of two different posts here. So even though the map is of Europe, the US has a lot of warheads here, which I guess shouldn't be surprising. They have the second most nukes still to this day. Russia's number one with 5,800, and the US is supposedly only a couple hundred behind. Then the list drops pretty far off, with China in third at 410, France at 290, the UK at 225. France and the UK obviously are European countries, so where else are they going to put their nukes? The exact numbers might be slightly different, but you can kind of see. But those countries do still have a lot of overseas territories though. There's technically nothing stopping France from putting like a nuke in French Guyana for whatever reason. I don't know why they would do that, but that's beside the point. So the purple nations all have US warheads. Kind of funny we're still putting them in Turkey, since that's what got us in trouble in the first place back during the Cuban Missile Crisis in the 1960s. We put our missiles in Turkey, they put theirs in Cuba, the world almost ended. But there's also warheads in Italy, Western Germany, also the lowland countries. I feel like some of this information is not entirely accurate. I don't think the British are putting all 225 warheads in Scotland. Maybe that's what they want others to think, but there's probably a little bit more secret stuff going on. Meanwhile, France has theirs a little bit more split around. Then there's the other side, Russia. They're claiming that 4,000 of their warheads are out here in Western Russia. Russia's obviously a very large country, the largest, in fact. They're gonna have to spread those all over the place. This map is claiming they definitely have some near Alaska, and of course South Korea, Japan right there. Interesting that there's a Lida air base in Belarus. Russian nuclear warheads have likely been stored here since June 2023. None here in their enclave of Kaliningrad though, I see, at least as far as we know. This one is probably to reach Canada, let's be real. Or at least to go over the North Pole, I'm assuming that's why. The whole globe thing. Here's where nuclear weapons are stored, that we know of, because who knows. My grandpa, who's 85, started this little rock collection. He's been doing it since 1992, gathering rocks all over Scotland. He says it had to be geographically correct and also aesthetically pleasing. He asked for this to be shared so more people can see it. This is incredible. This is such a great idea. You can actually see the colors of the rocks, like they're similar. No wonder this took like 30 years. How has no one ever thought about this before? Also, the way it's like perfectly built, like literally this is Scottish borders with rocks on them. And there's even like tiny rocks for this. Incredible. That would be my life's work right there. I'd be happy with just that. Leave the earth with this great creation. It's also pretty incredible that it seems like he got to explore almost every inch of this kingdom, which would definitely not be a very easy thing to do at all. The Scottish Highlands and all the islands, of course. I'm amazed. A list of every country's largest coastal cities. You might be surprised to find out a lot of cities don't have their biggest city along the coast. I mean, sometimes that's surprising for some places, others not so much. Like in the case of Amsterdam for the Netherlands, yeah. But their neighbor Belgium to the south, this is a bit more shocking. I don't think I've ever actually heard of this city before. London is not a coastal city technically for the UK, that would be Edinburgh. Also Dublin here in Ireland. There's a lot of interesting historical things going on here because, like I said, some of these places do have obviously their iconic city being coastal, others not so much. In the case of Russia, St. Petersburg is their largest coastal city, but that is not their capital. A lot of other northern European nations have their capital as also their largest coastal city. Germany overall is a very landlocked nation, so, you know, this is lesser known here. There's also a lot of countries that obviously don't have access to the coast, so they are left off the map. Cooper, Slovenia. I probably would have gone my entire life without ever knowing this city existed unless it was for this map. Madrid is in the center of Spain, so Barcelona is their largest coastal. Constanta from Romania. Here's the Asian version of this map. So obviously we have Tokyo, but Pyongyang of North Korea, that's not coastal. This is Hamhung. Busan of Korea, not their capital, that would be Seoul. Shanghai in China, of course, New Taipei City. Asia kind of goes back and forth between their largest coastal city also being their capital. The Middle East, it tends to not be that way, interestingly enough. In the case of the big three countries out of North America, none of these are our capital. I would argue New York City, though, is more iconic than our capital of Washington, D.C. And you have Vancouver, Canada, and interestingly, it's Tijuana, Mexico. Obviously, there's City of Mexico in the heart of the country. A lot of places like to put their capital in the middle of the country. It's easier to like administrate things, obviously, from there. Here's Central America, which all these countries have access to a ton of coastline. It's almost not even possible for some of these Pacific Island nations to not have a coastal city. I mean, I know that they do, but it's difficult. Whole lot of landlocked countries here in Africa, but really funny to see the Ivory Coast here. Of course, their biggest cities are along the sea. There is actually only a handful of countries more densely populated than the United Kingdom. Every red country you see on the map is less densely populated than the United Kingdom. Remember that we're not talking about sheer population. The UK has 67 million people living in it. We're actually referring to how many people there are per square kilometer. I feel like when you visit London, you can really feel this. Like, it's not shocking at all that they have this many people living there. Funny enough, some of the only countries that are more densely populated than the UK is formerly known as British Raj. These were all colonies of the British, so I guess they passed down that little legacy. I don't think South Asia was happy that that was passed down to them. Israel and Palestine are the same. Also, the lowland countries, I think excluding Luxembourg, I can't really tell. This is like a 240p map. Only two places in the Americas more densely populated. Actually, one of these islands might be included, but Haiti and El Salvador. Also Rwanda and Burundi. Asian countries in the Pacific also seem to be very densely populated. I actually didn't realize this about the UK. A lot of people living there considering their size. European countries with a North Korean embassy. In blue, they have a North Korean embassy, and in red, they do not. Man, I really wish I would have seen this map before visiting Europe. I would have loved to have seen one of these. I love how it looks like just a regular old building. I did kind of figure the structure itself would look more like a missile launcher like this. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they one day do that. So there's a really big divide in Europe whether to give the North Koreans an embassy. All of the lowland countries, France, and all of the Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Portugal, do not have an embassy for them. The UK, interestingly, does. I also believe that if you're British, you can technically visit North Korea, or maybe not anymore. Maybe that's how it used to be. Americans cannot go to North Korea unless you're like Dennis Rodman or something. You need a special case. All of Central Europe have North Korean embassies like Italy, Austria. Not surprised about Switzerland. They're diplomatically very neutral, of course. There's Germany, Poland, Czechia. I wonder why so many countries over this way do not have. I mean, maybe North Korea doesn't want an embassy. That'd be messed up. Romania and Bulgaria get one. You would think just because, you know, former communist nations, you know, they would have this shared historical ties, even if these countries are not communist anymore. I don't know. Iran has one. That's not surprising. Neither is Syria. There is kind of some alliance going on there. Oh, that's hilarious that Sweden has an embassy. Yet, in the 70s, North Korea stole like 1,000 Volvos from them and never paid them for that. You'd think there'd be kind of a little bit of a grudge held there. I would have shut down the embassy after this. A timeline of the richest person on the planet since the 1900s. So starting off in 1901, it is this Andrew guy, Carnegie. I didn't want to mispronounce his last name. So he had $13.6. No, this is actually in billions. 13 billion in today's money. They do adjust for inflation. So 13 billion for the 1900s, that's quite a bit. We have John D. Rockefeller. The Rockefellers have been in the news recently. He had 27 billion. He had net worth in 2023 dollars in billions. And actually, Rockefeller led for 3 decades. It wasn't until the 1940s when Henry Ford finally took the title, and he took the title, all right. Wow, 200 billion. Killed the Rockefeller. Wait, I shouldn't have said that. Too soon. J. Paul Getty winning in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So it's only because Henry Ford died, I guess, because like look at how much it dropped off. Then in the 80s, it was Yoshiaki Tsutsumi. Obviously, this is a Japanese businessman. He was arrested in 2005. Then we have the Walton family for the first half of the 90s. This is the people that own Walmart, right? And the Waltons were really exploding. Wally World. Then for 10 years between 1997 and 2007, Bill Gates was the #1 richest man. Interesting, like that his wealth was like fluctuating here. We had Warren Buffett take the title finally in 2008, then Bill Gates grabbed that back. We have the Carlos Slim family, then Bill Gates comes back, continues, then it's Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk briefly, and then I've covered this last week, Bernard Arnault and family. Interesting, and family. He right now is winning, although Elon Musk had more for a second there. Oh, Elon lost a lot because of stock value, right? Because Tesla went down. I think that's the only reason why. So these are the 4 richest here. Oh, Carlos Slim is from Mexico. Most of the richest men have been from the US. I just wanted to confirm that before I said it. It seemed that way. Of course, this man was Japanese. Elon Musk is American/South African, and Bernard is actually French. I didn't even know that. When Carlos Slim was the richest man on Earth, he had about 7% of all of Mexico's GDP. Wow. I wonder who's gonna win next. The world's most popular religions. We have Judaism with 14 million. Also Sikhism Buddhism at 25 million. For some reason, I thought there was more. We have Shinto with 104 million. I love how it doesn't even look like there's much of a difference with these candles. And we're talking millions and millions of people, but obviously we're gonna get way up there. Buddhism at 500 million. I also thought this number would actually be even more than 500 million. Hinduism at 1.1 billion. It's like all of India there. But don't forget that faith, it does spread around the world, of course. And one of my favorite facts is the South American nation of Guyana and Suriname have among the most Hindus considering their population percentage. Then there's Islam at 1.8 billion and Christianity at 2.2. Obviously this doesn't dive into like Protestantism, Catholics, Eastern Orthodox, but I don't think it splits them up, any of these religions. Wonder where Greek mythology is. I'm sure there's still followers of that, right? I'm sure. There's got to be like one. There you go. If you divide it by branch, Sunni Islam becomes the largest, followed by Catholic Christianity. That'd be a very different chart. And big thanks to my patrons.
DrewI'mYourDadBackWithTheMilkLookOutside.
Kansas was mentioned. DoOOCHBAGGINS. aPhatNarwhal.
Carmel
Amateur Archaeology.
DaBeautiful-MEGAN-Underwood.
Fredrik
Henrik
Hedlund.
InquisitorXarius.
Traven's annoying friend.
KirinoIsBestGirl.
LuxembourgLover.
RyeThePie.
I love
the
Tambre.
Mexican 760.
And ZaneyBoi.